Let's rank things on a whiteboard. Yes, let's do that. It's going to be a video compare between the 03, the 01, the A8, and the 05S from BLON. We've got several BLONs, so let's put them together. And the whiteboard is such an easy way to take a look at it. You could stop your frame and look right now. The tracks I'm going to use when I talk about the bass on these sets, because I can't listen to tons of songs when I'm comparing so many. I did this over the past 2 days. Black Sabbath, Sweet Leaf, Sultans of Swing. That's the low frequency evaluation. Steely Dan, Hey 19, Soundgarden, Spoon Man, the Spoons, and the track overall in the mids. Treble, Big Boy Kill Jill, the Hatsune Miku Vocaloid at the intro. Led Zeppelin, Hey, What Can I Do? Significant and repetitive cymbal strikes throughout the whole replay. Plus, I think there's a mandolin actually in there and some other stuff. There's a lot of high energy stuff going on. That's the tracks that I'm using just to keep it simple. You can check that out if you want. Using something like Black Sabbath and also Sultans of Swing. Both of these are 4-string bass guitars. I think that the bass on the 03 is the best. I think it's got sometimes the beauty of the 03 is that it's got an engaging kind of warmth to it. It's not for critical. I have OCD, and that's obvious to everybody, my little timestamps to the track and to the second. But I find it does the job, and it gives me a pleasant replay overall. It's a fascinating combination of stuff. And I also hated the cable, the fit, and for some reason my ears have, people say brain burn in. My ears have burned in. Like, my ears find the 03 to be very comfortable now. It's crazy. And I have no explanation for that, but I find it fit probably best out of all the BLONs. And that the meme was that thing wasn't made for human ears. I said that, but it actually sounds great. The next one would be the 01. The 01 has a good bass, but it doesn't have impact like the 03 does, and also you always seem to need to try to push more power into the 01. The 01 is power hungry, and it was of all these would be the set that I would say don't use with a portable phone or something with low power. The 01 is the audiophile set of the BLON series in the sense that it scales up with the ADI 2DAC, or as high as you go, the N8 by KN. It sounded better with better gear in a way that the other BLONs don't really. They call that scaling up. Like it improves itself when combined with improved gear. The 01 would be the one that does that. Its bass would be just under the 03, lacking impact with potential. And if you can get a good fit and you've got lots of gear and can do EQ, and it's maybe the best set. Next one would be the A8. It's got elevated bass more than any of the other sets in the sub bass and in the mid bass, but it doesn't play out that way because that right there on that foam. The driver's enclosed in a unique small cavity, and I'm not sure if it's getting ventilation, so it's graphing like that. But playing back a 4-string bass guitar, a kick drum, or a deck mixed West Coast mid-90s hip-hop hit, triple hit, double hit, it's not really giving me the authority that I was kind of expecting it would have. But it's not messy either. It's just, it's unique. The 05S is, the attention is drawn towards the treble, so listening to the 4-string bass guitar, it sounds clean, but it reminds me of the B2, which I guess if you're fans of the Blessing 2, this would be the most similar to that BLON's ever released. So if you want something really cheap and affordable, you might have other options. I would think that the 05S would be something you should at least try. It does fit well. It does have a profile that's not unlike something like the B2. I think it's got more late energy, but it's giving you the detail via the upper mid elevation, because that's like a pseudo, gives you a sense of clarity. And a lot of this is also psychoacoustics. It's not really there. Your brain thinks it is like a stage. How do you get a stage from what are essentially earplugs in your ear? Literally earplugs in your ear blocking outside noise. You get that by doing elevations at certain points of the spectrum, and that creates a sense of space that's not real. It's in your head, and that's psychoacoustic illusion. It's a science, psychoacoustics, and that's how they do that. So I think that the mids on the 03 are the best. I think they graph the best. The transition from the mid bass until you get to the gain is the most reasonable. The 01 is a little bit behind that. The A8 is good. It doesn't graph with actual mids. I can see some people that might find it to be intimate, would be a polite word. And the O5S is something that's got leaner bass, but I don't find the mids to be as engaging as something like the O3 or the O1. These are my personal observations using the music that I just mentioned. Playing Steely Dan Hey 19, I thought all of these played it well. I thought the O3 just, there's a reason why it's as popular as it is. And the lowest ranking would be the A8 and the 056, and I think that's really related to the low frequency, giving it a lack of sense of energy, but that does impact the mids. So I would say 1 for the O3, rank 2 for the O1, 3 for the A8, and the O5/6 is not really different from the A8, so I'll put them as the same. The treble, Big Boy Killjoy, which is right here. This is a Vocaloid. It's a computer-generated female voice. It goes very high in the register. It can be fatiguing. There are two ways to listen to this track, Killjoy by Big Boy. One is to tolerate the intro and then to get to the song, the bass hits, and the other is to enjoy the intro and then get to the bass hits. There's two different ways. The O3 does it. I can do both. I can listen to the Vocaloid and have no problem with it. Pretty much the same with the O1, and then the basic comes in and I find it to be satisfying on both of those sets. The A8 has on a graph less mids, and it is more intimate replay. Not so much different than the O3, but it's for different reasons. One is because of the tuning and the seemingly slight tinge of distortion all along the replay of the O3 that gives it a kind of warmth, and it's really an engaging, pull you in kind of replay. It's not the most accurate set, but it'll pull you in and enjoy it. And this is all about enjoying the music. The A8 does that a little bit less, as does the 05S, and again I think that's related to the way that the bass was tuned, and then the treble coming up and that really kind of stealing your focus. And for treble heads, that's fine. For people like me, it's not so fine. So if you're a big fan of the O3, I'd say that the O5S is obviously a different play. It's not a retuned O3, it's a really different play. The O1 is maybe slightly retuned. I think the treble on the O3 is my favorite. I love the triple peaks. I like the extension. It's not obnoxious. It doesn't give too much upper harmonic energy to stuff. That Hatsune Miku intro doesn't sound bad. The O1 is good. It's slightly different tuning. I like the way that they did the O3. There's bias there, like in my head. Behind subliminal, under the surface, but it's real, and I do find the treble to be more appealing. The A8 and the 01 are really not different. The A8 has treble that's not that unlike the O3. I just don't find it to be quite on par with the O3. And the O5S I'll give a 2 as well, because for some people it might be the best treble of all the BLONs, because again, relative to the mid dip, it's the most bright set probably the BLON's release, so that would be something that you would be appealing to you if you were a fan of the B2 or like sets where they've got a little more gain, a little bit more forward vocals. I think the resolution and the detail, because of what I just said about the tuning of the treble and the psychoacoustical illusion of giving you more detail via the elevations right there, I would say that the A8 and the 056 would be the best when it comes to that. If we're talking about micro detail, dig down resolution, like being able to get the Easter eggs in songs, I would think that the A8, that's where the A8 shines, which is very weird because the driver's probably not breathing the way I would think that a dynamic should, but that is maybe making it slightly faster. It's very obvious to me when I listen to little things that the A8's got that. That's what the A8's going to do for you. If you get a good seal with good tips, it's going to probably pull forward some details that the O3 doesn't quite get. You're okay with it, and then you hear it with the A8, and then maybe you prefer the A8. So that's where this is going to shine, is in the detail. And that 056, again, because of the elevation and the treble, kind of is doing that psychoacoustic illusion of lift it up, kind of turn the volume up around 3K, and make it sound like it's got more detail. And the perception's reality, so it does have more detail. And the O3 and O1 are not sacrificing detail, but the O1's kind of smooth. It's got an overall smoothness to it, not like distortion, but just smoothness. That's why it seems to scale up with stuff. And then the O3, just its overall tuning and the way that the mid bass impacts the mids and everything after it, it's not a detail beast. It's enough for a person with OCD and timestamps like myself, but it's not. That's not where it shines. Notes, Total score would be 5 points for the 03, which would make it the best if I'm just, writing numbers down and then totaling it. And then tonality. It's all about tonality with this. It sounds natural. It sounds natural with like acoustic wood instruments. It sounds good with drum kits. It treats vocals very nice. There's a reason that it's sold as many as it has. The 01 power hungry, scales up, as I mentioned several times. The A8 micro details. It's fascinating. Bizarre design. Dynamic driver that's being stuffed in a relatively small cavity. I don't know how it's breathing, but it's getting micro details because they're tightening the bass extension. Like after the hit, the decay seems to be a little bit quicker on it, even though the graph doesn't indicate that. But my ears tell me that, and I trust my ears over graphs if they're going to collide. They usually don't. But in this case they do. But then the micro, I'll bring it up right now. The micro graphed huge bass, but it doesn't really impact, and it's partly because of the driver size and because of the way that it's in that little noodle shell. But that shows a big bass hit, and that doesn't play that way. So there's a graph that's departing slightly from what you hear when you actually listen to it. And then the 056 would be B2 type fans. If somebody's like a B2 and thought that's a little fat for my ears, like me, people sometimes think, oh, you hate on Moondrop. Man, KXXS, loved it. One of the first people to hype it on YouTube. Canas Pro, same. Starlight, loved it. Illumination, huge fan. Probably 7 out of 10 or 6 out of 9 I've been a huge fan of. It's the little screamy, like SSR, the spaceship. I can't. If BLON did that, I'd crap on it too. They did with the T2 Plus, or Linsol did, and I crapped all over that, and they retuned it. So it doesn't matter who sends it to me. If it's tuned with screaming treble and the sub bass is rolled, it's going to get slammed. Like, is this the set you're really going to sell? And can I do a video? Like, this is retail? Okay. Like, and that's what's going to happen. So I don't really get sets like that sent to me anymore. So there we go. 5 points for the 03, 8 points for the 01, 9 for the A8, and 10 for the 056. That's it. Keep it short. You guys enjoy your weekend. Next video coming up is going to be the Unique Melody Fusang. It's $4,000, even if that's not in your price range. Know what's going on in the hobby. What is some of the benefits? What is total hype? Like, educate yourself. The more you know, the further you go. And I'm out.